Hi everyone, welcome back to the GCSEMathsPro YouTube channel. In this live, we will be going through the Edexcel November 2023 Paper 2 Foundation tier. So make sure that you have your calculators. I'm just going to get mine whilst I'm here as well. There we go. Make sure you've got your proper scientific calculators with you so that you can practice it with that. And let's go through the paper. So question 1, write down two factors of 18, so any two that you can think of. Those are just numbers that divide into 18. Obviously, I'll write a list here. You could do obviously 1 and itself. You can do that for any numbers, 1 and itself, so 1 and 18. You might think, oh, it's an even number, so I could do 2 and 9. You can also do 3 and 6. Any of those is fine. I don't know, let's go with 2 and 9. Write 0.9 as a fraction. Now this one, what we can do, because it's obviously going to be a calculator paper, is type in 0.9 and it'll either automatically convert it to a fraction for you, or if it doesn't, then you should have a conversion button on your calculator. So mine is this SD button here. You can see it converts it back to a decimal if I press that, or into a fraction. So 9/10 would be ideal, but I would assume they would take any kind of version of that. Maybe if you put 90/100 would also be fine. There's multiple different fractions you could put, but I think the most kind of basic one would be 9/10. So let's scroll down a bit. Question 3, change 7 meters to centimeters. So we should know that there are 100 centimeters in every meter. So if we've got 7 meters, then that would be just 7 times 100, wouldn't it? 7 times 100. You don't need to write any working out. I'm just showing you kind of in more detail. So it should be 700 centimeters. Write down a square number that is between 10 and 50. So again, we've got multiple options here. They've said a square number, so it could be any of them. I was thinking the first one would be 16. You could have 16, you could have 25, you could have 36, or you could have 49. Any of these four is fine. Work out 50% of 240. Now, if you're happy to know that that's just a half of 240, you can work it out directly. If not, you can use obviously the calculator. So if you do 250 times by, now you can actually use a percentage button. Again, just check where it is on your particular calculator. But for me, I just have to press shift and then this one here. Do you see how there's a percentage now? And it works out 50% for me if you're not sure how to do it otherwise. So 120 would be obviously 50% of 240. It's half. Question 6, Lydia works for 4 hours. She is paid £50. How much is Lydia paid per hour? So per hour, the word per normally means divide, doesn't it? So 50 divided by the 4 hours, or a quarter of 50 effectively, isn't it? Is £12.50. £12.50. So that's 2 marks. Question 7, we have, here is a 3D shape. Part A, write down the name of this 3D shape. So that is a cone. Part B, in the space below, draw a sketch of a triangular prism. So any kind of triangular prism, I was thinking just to draw like a triangle and then make it 3D. Like this. You could kind of draw additional lines like that if you wanted to. I don't think you have to though. Maybe something like that. You could draw it vertically. You could draw it, as a right-angled one if you wanted. That would also be fine. Kind of any type of triangular prism. They haven't been that specific. As long as it's obviously some kind of triangle and then it becomes a prism by being 3D. So that's for 1 mark. Question 8. Curtis needs to buy some items from his sports club. Here are the prices. So we've got footballs are £9.50 each. Hockey sticks are £30 for 2. Cricket bats are £23 each. And tennis balls are £5 for 4. Curtis needs to buy 5 footballs, so I might write this here actually, 5 footballs, 6 hockey sticks, so 6 lots of this, So 6 lots, but we only want, they're for 2 each, aren't they? So that'd be 3 lots. They're each, so 2 cricket bats and 4 tennis balls, so 1 lot of this offer. Curtis has £200 to spend. Show that Curtis can buy all of the items. So the footballs and the cricket bats, I guess, are probably the easiest ones to look at, aren't they? Because they've just given us the price for 1 football and for 1 cricket bat. So the footballs would be 5 times £9.50. 5 times £9.50 gives me £47.50. Then for the hockey sticks, now because Curtis needs 6 hockey sticks, but they are 2 for £30, that means I want to have 3 of the offer, don't I, of the promotion. I want 3 lots of that. So I would just do 3 times 30. What you can do if you want is, I guess, divide 30 by 2 and then times it by 6 if you prefer to do that. That's up to you. So that should just be 90. Then we've got just 2 cricket bats at £23 each, so £46. And finally, tennis balls. Because he wants 4 tennis balls and they are sold as an offer, 4 for £5, that's just like 1 times the £5, isn't it? Because I only need 1 batch of 4 tennis balls. So I've got that. Obviously now I want to add all of this together. So 47.50 plus 90 plus 46 plus 5 is £188.50. And they said, Curtis has £200, show that he can buy all the items. Well, yeah, because £188.50 is obviously less than £200, isn't it? So that's fine. So Curtis obviously does have enough. That one was 4 marks, as you can see. Question 9. Harris is buying a shirt and a tie. He has a choice of 3 colours of shirt and a choice of 3 styles of tie. So the shirt can be white, blue or grey. The tie can be plain, striped or checked. Harris is going to choose 1 shirt and 1 tie. List all the possible combinations Harris can choose. So listing them, I think we're just going to use obviously the initials that they've given us. So it could be a white shirt and a plain tie. I would go through with white first and all 3 of these. White shirt, striped tie, white shirt, checked tie. And then move on from white. We can then do blue. Blue plain, blue striped, blue checked, you get the point. And then move on to grey, grey plain, grey striped, grey checked. So you should have 9 options, 9 different combinations, okay? And that's 2 marks. Question 10. There are 24 red counters and 40 blue counters in the bag. Write down the ratio of the number of red counters to the number of blue counters in the bag, but we also must give our ratio in its simplest form. So initially, they've said red to blue, so just put that in the same order. That's the initial point, isn't it? Red to blue is 24 to 40, but then we need to simplify this. So what I would do is just divide it. Oh, if I show you in a fraction, do 24 over 40. It's the same as a ratio, except it's just written vertically instead of horizontally. And now obviously it will simplify my fraction for me. So where I had 24, it now says 3, doesn't it? So I will obviously write 3 for red. And where it said 40, it now says 5. So I'll write 5 for blue. So I could just use my calculator to simplify it for me. So it's 5 to 3. Obviously don't write it as a fraction, write it as a ratio in the end. But it simplifies it in the same way, just as I said, vertically instead of horizontally. So 3 to 5 should be your answer. Because both sides are divisible by 8. That's basically the working, isn't it? Both sides you can divide by 8. That's what the calculator has done for us. So that's another nice 2 marks. Question 11. Remo is going to roll a fair 6-sided dice. Choose the word that best describes the probability that the dice will land on the number 3. So it's fair. So that means that the probability of getting any of the numbers is equal, and then it's 6 sides, obviously it's got numbers 1 to 6. So what's the chance of getting a 3? Well, that would be 1 out of 6, wouldn't it? Because there are 6 numbers, and there's an equal chance for all of them. Number 3 is only one of the numbers, so that would be like 1 out of 6. So let's see, what would we say out of the words? It's not impossible, is it? Because there's obviously a number 3 on the dice. It's definitely not certain because all the dice isn't all number 3s, is it? It's 1 to 6. It's not evens because that would be half. Do you see what I mean? You can always kind of go through and cross out. It's not likely because it's not more than half. So I'd probably go with unlikely. It is possible, but it's unlikely just because it's such a small chance. 1 out of 6 different options. That's a small chance, isn't it? Choose the word that best describes the probability that the dice will land on an odd number. So think about it obviously our dice says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Odd numbers, 1, 3, and 5. Do you see how that's 3 out of 6? Out of 6 chances, there are 3. That's exactly a half, isn't it? Which is, therefore, evens. Same if it was an even number, half a chance, 3 out of 6. Question 12. A car travels at an average speed of 37 miles per hour for 3 hours. Work out the distance that the car travels in the 3 hours. So speed, distance, time, I like to use my formula triangle. Speed is distance over time, so distance is the one at the top. We're looking for the distance, so that means I need to multiply my speed, 37 miles per hour, by my time, 3 hours. So let me grab my calculator to do that. So 3 times 37, or not 3 times 3. Try that again. 37 times 3 or 3 times 37, it doesn't matter which way round. I don't want me to type it for some reason. There we go, 111 miles. 111 miles. So again, 2 marks, 1 mark for writing this kind of formula, this equation, 1 mark for your answer. Question 13, Milo is trying to find the area of this rectangle. He writes, the area is 400 centimeters squared because 5 times 4 times 5 times 4 is 400. Explain what is wrong with Milo's method. So I would say, obviously, hopefully we know that area is actually just length times width. So you can always write a correction. You could say Milo should have done, or however you want to word it, 4 times 5, which we know would give us 20 centimeters squared. You could say a correction. Obviously what he's done wrong is he's multiplied all the sides together, isn't it? That was the problem. Now what we can do is have a little look at the mark scheme. Let's get the right mark scheme. There we go. Just so that you can see an example of a few of the possible options. So here, question 13, you can see part A. So should have multiplied 5 by 5 and 4. That's basically what I said. It should be just 5 times 4, which is what I said. You could say it's base times height, or it's length times width. She has not used the formula for area. You could say it should be 20 centimeters squared. So again, you can correct her. Shouldn't multiply all 4 sides. Any of that is acceptable. That's fine. These are obviously then not acceptable. You can't say, oh, they've said she and he. Anyway, you can't say that she or he is correct because obviously they're not. Yeah, you can't say they found the area twice because they haven't. That's still not actually what they've done. So just, yeah, one of these acceptable answers, ideally. Now we've also got part B. Oh, it's disappeared. Come back. There we go. So part B, Anya works out the area of a shape. Her answer is 86 centimeters. So this seems to be different now, not relating to the square, the rectangle, right? So she works out the area of a shape. Her answer is 86 centimeters. Explain why her answer cannot be fully correct. So she's just said her answer is 86 centimeters, but she's worked out the area. And there's a clue in terms of how I wrote the 20. 86 centimeters to me seems like maybe just one side, or maybe like a perimeter or something. It's a one-dimensional measurement, isn't it? Area is always a two-dimensional measurement. So she's missed out the fact that she needs to write that the units, again, you can just correct her, should be centimeters squared, shouldn't they, for area? It should be centimeters squared. Almost a trick question, that, because I feel like you're focusing on the number and you're thinking, well, why is the number wrong? It could be right, but it's just because of the units. It should be 86 centimeters squared, or you can say centimeters is wrong. You can say she didn't use the correct units for area. It should be 86 centimeters squared. Any of that is fine. Question 14. 3 kilos of flour costs £4 5 pence. 5 kilos of flour and 6 kilos of sugar costs £11.85. Work out the cost of 2 kilos of flour and 5 kilos of sugar. Okay, so the first one, I tend to use algebra quite a lot. You might not like to do this, but what I tend to do is maybe convert this into an equation. So we've got 3 kilos. I'm going to use F to represent flour, right? 3 kilos of flour is 4.05. If I want to work out just 1 kilo of flour, as I said, you don't have to do it this way, but 1 kilo of flour would be obviously dividing by 3, wouldn't it? So £4 and 5 pence divided by 3 gives me £1.35. So £1.35 for 1 kilo of flour. Now I also need to know how much the sugar costs. So the second sentence I could translate into an equation of 5F plus 6S, S for sugar, is 11.85. But because I know what 1F is, I could substitute it in, couldn't I? So that's 5 times £1.35 plus 6S is 11.85, and I'll just work this out. As I said, you don't have to do it this way. You can work it out a different way if you prefer to not use algebra. That's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to times this by 5, 675. And then obviously I would have to subtract it, wouldn't I? So 11.85 minus my answer is £5.10. So that's for 6 kilos of sugar is, did I write that right? Yeah, 5.10. 5.10. So obviously then 1 kilo of sugar, I can just divide that by 6, is 85p. Okay, so we're almost there. So the last thing I need to do, I now know what effectively 1 kilo sugar is, 1 kilo of flour is. I want 2 kilos of flour and 5 sugar. So 2 times 135 plus 5 times 85p, isn't it? And then that would be my answer. So let's work that out. 2 times 135 plus 5 times 85p. 6.95. That would be my final answer. So just work out how much each of them cost for 1 kilo and then multiply it from there. Okay, in terms of the higher paper, I was planning to go through the predicted paper that I've written. However, some people have suggested that because I've done a video on that they would like to just do another past paper. So I have put a poll up on my channel. So I'm just basically waiting. In about an hour's time, I might decide whether we'll do the predicted paper or whether we'll do a higher tier paper. If we're going to do the higher tier paper, you can see on the poll, it will be the November 2019 paper 2, if we do that one, if we do the past paper. But I'm just waiting to see kind of what most people are looking for, okay? Question 15, Martha and Nabil share £120. Martha gets 72% of the money. She spends 30% of the money she gets. How much money does Martha have left? So first of all, let's work it out in steps. She gets 72%, so as we said, we can times it on our calculator by 72%, if you have your percentage button. If not, just make sure you divide 72 by 100 to make it into a decimal for the calculator. But here I can press shift and then this button here, you see I've got a percentage button above and it works it out for me. Right, so Martha gets £86.40, but then out of this £86.40 she spends 30% of that. So that's now £86.40 times 30%. 86.40 times 30%. Again, I'm just going to use my percentage button, but if not, make sure to do 30 divided by 100 as a decimal. So 25.95. That's how much she spends, isn't it? 25.90. What was it? 92. 25.92. This is how much she spends, so that's not the final answer, is it? What we're saying is how much money does Martha have left? Okay, well, she had 86. She had 86.40. If she spent 25.92, we can just see what's left. So 86.40 minus 25.92. £60.48 left. Okay, again, there's different ways to do that, but that's one way of doing it. Okay, question 16. We've got obviously a lot of information here. 160 people were asked to choose their favourite type of book. They each chose from romance, adventure, horror, or thriller. And then it starts mentioning things about children or adults. So I'll read through this in a minute, but just so that we can see what the question is. Work out the total number of people who chose horror. So because I've got kind of one category, which is the genre of the book, romance, adventure, horror, thriller, but I've also got a separate category, which is adults and children. I would list this as a two-way table. You don't have to, but this is how I would lay it out. So that's why I've got this table here. So for example, I'd put here romance, adventure, just scribble out a table. Doesn't have to look, super good, as long as you can read it properly, it's fine. Thriller. And then here is my other category, which is adults and children. And then the other two are basically totals. Total. So now I'm going to read through the information. First of all, they did say there were 160 people in total. So that's the total on both ends, isn't it? Total here, 160. Tick that off. Then it says 85 of these people were children. So in the total for children along here, 85 were children. So you can tick that off. 19 of the 33 people who chose romance were children, right? So 33 people chose romance, so that's the total for romance, but 19 of them were children. Tick, tick. 34 of the 76 people who chose adventure were adults, the same idea here. 76 people chose adventure, but in that case, we've got 34 were adults, so 34 would go here. 7 adults chose thriller, so 7 here. The number of children who chose thriller, so this one, is the same as the number of adults who chose horror, so we can... This one is the same as this one, isn't it? Just going to highlight that for now. And that's all the information they've given me. So from here, I can then just work out the differences. So the difference, I think the first one is these two rows, and these two columns even. Do you see this column here? If 33 people chose romance, then we know there's 19 children, so how many adults is that? Well, that'd be 33 minus 19, wouldn't it? Which is 14 adults. Same with adventure. We've got a total of 76 minus 34 is 42. 42 children. Okay, so then we're filling in these. We could also work out the total adults in general, couldn't we? Because we've got 160 people minus 85 children. So that's 75 adults. And then you see when you start filling them out, then there's other rows and other columns that you can look at that have a gap. So the row here says, obviously the total is 75. So move that over here. 75 minus the romance, minus the adventure, minus the thriller gives me horror, doesn't it? So that's 20. And then remember how we said that obviously the amount, the number of adults who chose horror is the same as the number of children who chose thriller. Then I could just add up this one here, 27, and then I've got this row. So just kind of piecing it together basically. So 85 in total minus 20 minus 42 minus 19 is 4. And then I can add this up, 24. Now what was the actual question? Work out the total number of people who chose horror. So that's this one, isn't it? So my answer should be 24. After all that, my answer is 24. Okay, I'm just going to check the poll for you to see what people have replied. Okay, most people have chosen another Edexcel paper. So I would say yes, well, let's do the November 2019 paper 2. So yeah, you can print it out and do it now before we start. Yeah, I'll swap it to that one. November 29 paper 2 for the higher tier students later on. Question 17. Here are the heights in centimetres of 16 sunflowers. So just double check if they're in order first of all, which they're not, are they? It doesn't look like they're in order, so we'll just bear that in mind. Show this information in a stem and leaf diagram. Okay, so I need to put them in order, which is why I think they've given me this space here. So we don't necessarily have to write them in order, but I feel like I would personally find it easier if I did. So let's see what we've got. I think the smallest so far is 160. Yep. 160, then I think 162. Just double check. It's a little bit tedious, but once you get through it, it'll be easier. Anything else in the 60s? We've got 168. Any other 60s? No, so 168. And then we've got 70s. So what was our smallest 70? Looks like 172, but we've got 2 of those, so obviously make sure to list them both. 172, 172, 173. 178 here. Anything else? Oh, 177 first. 178. As I said, I'm literally just ordering them, right? Yes, it's confirmed. We'll do the past paper. Any other 70s? No. So into the 80s. 180 we've got. 84, 83. Another 180 again. 183. 184. And 186. 186 and 188. And then lastly, 191 and 19. Oh, it's too far away. 197. Okay, so I've listed them in order. Now I can put it into my stem and leaf diagram. So you can see that I've got 4 rows here. There's also 4 rows in my stem and leaf diagram. So for my key, what I'm probably going to do is I think I'll take the first 2 digits. So 1, 6, and then put a line. So that represents this line here. Oh, that would mean 160 centimetres. So I'll put 16 here, 17, 18, and 19. Okay, and then all I need to do is put the last digits because I've already got the 160 bit, so that would be 0. Then I've got a 162, a 168. See how now it's easier because I've already put them in order. Set 172. Another 2 for 172 again, 173, 77, 78, 180, 180, 183, 184, 186, 188, and then 191 and 197. So it should be in order like this, and you can just figure out how many rows have they given me, and that's how I'm going to split my key, because it was 160, 170, 180, 190, wasn't it, basically? So that's my stem and leaf diagram. Question 18, we've got to work out 9.8 plus 6.8 divided by 4.2 times 2.1. That's obviously just a calculator kind of testing that they can see that you know how to use the calculator question, so obviously type it in. Make sure you obviously don't make any mistakes, that's the only thing. 4.2 times 2.1. And they've said write down all the figures on your calculator display, so as a decimal. So there, all of that I'm going to write down. So 1.882086, 1.882086, 168. That's what I'm going to write down. Literally just that. Part B, write your answer to part A correct 2 decimal places. So I'm looking here, check the 2, the one after it, because it's less than 5, I can round down, can't I? So that would be just 1.88. Question 19, the diagram shows a quadrilateral ABDE and an equilateral triangle BCD, equilateral. CB is parallel to DE. You can see where the arrows are, that means they're parallel. Where these little kind of dashed lines are, it means the sides are the same length. Obviously it's an equilateral triangle, they're all the same length. And then they've given us angle AED is 132, this one, work out the size of angle marked X. You must give a reason for each stage of your working. So we've got 90 degrees here as well, haven't we? We've got 132. Okay. So what I'm thinking is, to work out X, I probably want to, I've got here a quadrilateral, a four-sided shape. So that means that all of these, A, E, D, and B, would add up to 360, but I don't know this one. So therefore I want to know this one. Now, how does that relate to my parallel lines? Well, that's the Z-shaped one, isn't it? The alternate angles, Z-shape. You see how this is a Z shape? Badly drawn, but a Z shape. So those two are the same. Those two are the same angle. Now, because this is an equilateral triangle, let me get my pen back. Equilateral triangles, well, any triangle adds up to 180, but equilateral ones mean all of the angles are equal, aren't they? So I would just equally divide that by 3. You probably already know what this is, but I'm just doing it, you know, to get the marks for the method. So divide it by 3, which is 60. And then they said give a reason. So because you could just say like angles in equilateral, just copy the word that they've put at the top. Triangle are 60 degrees. So that's 60 here. Technically so is this, technically so is this, but the whole point was that I wanted this one because that's equal to this one, isn't it? So then I can say that one's also 60. So EDB, that's the angle, is also 60. The reason being because of alternate angles is what we said, isn't it? Alternate, that's the name of it. The Z-shape angles, but you can't say Z, I think you have to say alternate angles are the same. And then my last thing is, as I was saying, let me scroll down again, that because we've got a quadrilateral here on the top of it, the four-sided shape adds up to 360, doesn't it? So 360 minus all the other angles. So we had 132, we had 90, and we now know that the other one is 60. So subtract all of those from 360 degrees. So 360 minus 132 plus 90 plus 60 gives me 78. And then that one was because angles in quadrilateral, all of these are written, these words, so you can just copy how to spell them if you are not sure. Add up to 360. So yes, 78 is fine. As you've put in the comments, you're right. 78. 4 marks for that one. Question 20. Part A, complete the table of values for y equals x squared minus x minus 2. So there's actually a way to do this on the calculator, which you can obviously substitute the values in if you want, but I prefer to just use the calculator. I'm not sure if this was in your paper 1 anyway. I feel like there might have been a chance it was. So if it was already in paper 1, I don't know if they'd repeat it. But either way, what I do is I press menu or mode or whatever your calculator says. Mine says menu, mode, yours might say menu. Then you see how I've got an option that says table. Yours might be a different number to mine. Mine's number 7. It shows me f of x. It might show you g of x as well. Again, it will look different. Obviously, my calculator is not quite as new as probably what yours is. So here, f of x is just another way of saying y equals. So the bit that I'm missing is the x bit, isn't it? So I'm going to do, let's find where your x is. X squared minus another x minus 2. And then it does show me g of x, but that's for a second graph, which I don't have. I don't really want a second graph, so I'm going to skip that. It will then tell you something like start, end, and skip. The start is minus 2. The end is 3, so it's just the start and end of your table. And the step is the difference, so you see how every time it's just going up by 1, so just leave that. Then you get a vertical table. Now, obviously, the first one, you can see minus 2 for x. F of x is our y value, right? So you can see that they've got minus 2, 4, which is already written. The next one, minus 1, 0. So I can put 0 here. And then the next one is 0, minus 2. So I can put minus 2 here. Keep scrolling down. The next one, 1 minus 2, is obviously written already, so ignore that. The next one, 2, and then 0. And then the last one, 3, 4, so 4. Now, just to make your way, you do need to kind of exit out of this mode to be able to use your calculator again, because if you press on, you're still stuck with that, right? So go back to mode or menu or whatever button you pressed originally and just press number 1. So now it's back to normal, isn't it? So there's that. So yep, you've got this. Then all you need to do is plot it from here. This is kind of a little bit more straightforward from this point, isn't it? So -2, 4, -1, 0, -2, minus 0, -2, -1, -2, 2, 0, and 3, 4. And then it should create a U shape because we know it's a quadratic. So I know that that would make sense. Obviously, I'm going to try and join it up. You should use a pencil just in case it goes wrong and you need to redo it. That was really bad. Yours will obviously look a lot nicer than mine, that's for sure. I don't know, something a little bit like that. That's not too bad. Obviously, hopefully yours will look a bit better than that. So the whole question there is 4 marks. But as I said, I don't know if you'd already had that, so you might not get that again if you've already had it in paper 1. Question 21, describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle A onto triangle B. So what type of transformation is it? And then we need to write something about it. To me, I mean, initially I was thinking rotation, but then I was like, no, it doesn't match up as a rotation. And if you have tracing paper, you can always test it out yourself as well. It doesn't work as a rotation. I think it's actually a reflection. It looks like a kind of diagonal reflection here almost, doesn't it? So I'm going to say reflection. But I need to mention something about the reflection. So what do I normally say about a reflection? I normally say where the line of reflection is, where the mirror would be placed. And I think, just looking at it, you can kind of see when it's a reflection, it's like halfway, isn't it? I think it's literally, let me get a line actually, so I can show you. Draw a line. I think it's here. Because that's an equal distance, isn't it, between both? So that line, we have to write the equation for. That is the y is equal to -x line. Because if you look at every value of y, let's say +1, so 1 is -x, -1, 2, -2, 3, -3, and so on. So reflection in the line, y is -x. What I would say about that. There's nothing else we can really say, so that's a mark for each of those words, isn't it? Question 22, expand and simplify 3 multiplied by 2y minus 5 plus 7 multiplied by y plus 2. So just expand it, so that means multiplied, isn't it? So 3 times 2y is 6y. 3 times -5 is -15. Be careful of the negatives. Then we've got 7 times y, so just positive 7y. 7 times 2, positive 14. So that's expanding. Then we need to simplify. So collect the like terms. You've got y is there, so that's 13y. And then we've got just numbers. So -15 plus 14 is -1. Part B, factorize fully 6x squared plus 15x. So this is, even though it's a quadratic, it's not a full quadratic. I'm missing the last bit, aren't I? So it's going to go only into a single bracket. What can I pull out of both of those terms in common? First of all, a number. The highest common factor of 6 and 15 would be 3, wouldn't it? That's the biggest. And then the highest common factor of, if you think about letters, x squared and x, I could also pull out an x. They both have an x in common. So how do I go back from 3x to 6x squared, multiply by 2 to get the 6, multiply by another x to get x squared? How do I go from 3x to 15? Well, I'm just missing 5, aren't I? I've already got the x. So that would be your answer, 3x, and then brackets 2x plus 5. Part C, make g the subject of the formula f is equal to 3g plus 11. So that means get g on its own. So the 3 is in the way, the 11 is in the way. I need to move them to the other side. So I would move the 11 first, do the opposite. So it's currently plus, isn't it? So I would have to take away on both sides. Obviously on the left it would subtract, so f minus 11. And on the right it would just disappear because it would cancel out, wouldn't it? It'd be 0. And then to do the opposite, to get rid of 3, I need to divide because it's currently 3 times g. So divide by 3. F minus 11 over 3 is g. So now g is on its own, isn't it? It's the subject. Question 23. Karen is organising a party for a charity. She spends £100 on food, 120 on a hall, and 80 on a DJ. Karen sells 54 tickets for the party. Each ticket costs £7.50. Work out the percentage profit Karen makes for the party, for the charity. So percentage profit is profit divided by the cost, so how much it cost her to set up the party, obviously times by 100. So I need to work out these things. What's my total cost? These things together is going to be my cost, isn't it? So I can add those up. That's £300, isn't it? So my total cost is 300. And then my profit is my sales, how much she sold the tickets for, minus the cost. So let's find how much she sells the tickets for. So that's 54, each £7.50. So times by £7.50. So that's £405. So for my profit, 405 minus £300, which is £105. So for my formula, £105 divided by the original 300 times by 100. And then we can just put that in the calculator. Is 35. And that seems like quite a nice number, doesn't it? It's not loads of decimals, so I feel like you go, yeah, that would make sense. That seems like a reasonable answer. Okay, so 4 marks for percentage profit. Question 24. Andrew invests $4,500 in a savings account for 2 years. The account pays compound interest at a rate of 3.4% per year. Calculate how much Andrew has in his savings account at the end of 2 years. So this is actually an equation on your formula sheet, so you can copy that across. You do the principal amount, or the starting value, so that's obviously his 4,500, isn't it? Times by 1 plus your percentage rate, which is 3.4 over 100. And then to the power of the time, which is 2 years, so that'd be squared. And then all you have to do is just type that in. 4,500 times 1 plus 3.4 over 100. That just makes it a decimal, doesn't it? Squared. And there you are. You've got £4,811. I would say 20. Let's put 2 decimal places because it is money, isn't it? £4,811.20. Yeah. That's literally it for compound interest. That's really straightforward. If you can just find the formula on your formula sheet, you can just sub in the values. Question 25, we've got solve 5x minus 14 is equal to 52 minus x. So when we solve it, you can see here, we need to get x on one side and the numbers all on the other side. So first of all, my problem is that I've got x on both sides. I need to collect those. I need to get them together, don't I? So I'm going to move the minus x because it's a smaller amount. As we said before, to move something from one side of an equation to the other, you do the opposite. Currently, it's a subtract, isn't it? Subtract x. So the opposite would be to add x. So if I do minus x plus x, that's 0, cancels out, doesn't it? But I've got 5x plus x is 6x. So I've still got minus 14 and I've still got 52. So now I've got my x's together. I now want to move all the numbers to the other side. So I think I'll move this just number 14. Again, it's already subtracted, so the opposite would be to add it, wouldn't it? 6x is equal to, and then you just need to add it to 52. 52 plus 14 is 66. And the last thing is then, we know that 6x is technically 6 multiplied times by x. So I need to, write down what I was saying. I need to divide, that's the opposite, isn't it? Divide by 6 on both sides, which gives you 11 for x. So just start moving things around by doing the opposite of what's already happening. Question 26. Chris, Debbie and Errol share some money in the ratio 3 to 4 to 2. Debbie gets £120. Chris then gives some of his share to Debbie and some of his share to Errol. The money that Chris, Debbie and Errol each have is now in the ratio 2 to 5 to 3. How much money did Chris give to Errol? So a lot to take in there. Let's go backwards a bit. With ratio, I like to lay it out. I don't know, I just like to visualize it like this. So I'll write their initials, 3 to 4 to 2 underneath. Now, they've told us what Debbie gets. I'm going to put exactly how much she gets actually in her column. So do you see how that means that £120 is the equivalent, write it here, to 4 parts of my ratio? So what I could do is just divide by 4 to find one part of my ratio. It's kind of almost like an equation as well, isn't it? So 120 divided by 4 is £30, which means that's 1 part of my ratio. Now, if you have a look, Chris has 3 parts. So if 1 part is £30, 3 parts would be £90, wouldn't it? 3 times 30. Same with Errol. Errol has 2 parts. So 2 times 30 would be £60. So that's the actual split there of the money. Okay, that's actually how they've shared it out. So that's the first bit. You can kind of tick that off. Chris then gives some money, some of his share to Debbie and some to Errol, and we've got a new ratio. Now, the amount of money in total that all 3 of them are sharing together hasn't changed. What's changed is who has how much, right? So the total is still the same. So I might add this up and see how much money do we have. 90 plus 120 plus 60. So there's £270 in total shared between the 3 of them. Okay. Now we've got a new ratio, 2 to 5 to 3. It's still £270 though, isn't it? So I could share that out. Now, technically, I don't really need to know how much Debbie has. You can obviously work that out, but I only am interested in Chris and Errol, aren't I? So when we share out a ratio, whether it's 2 parts or 3 parts, you always add up the number of parts. So luckily that adds up to 10, doesn't it? So there's 10 parts. Again, I want to know how much money per 1 part in this case. It's obviously not the same anymore. So 270 divided by 10 is 27. So now we've got £27 for 1 part of my ratio. It's a new ratio, isn't it? Chris has 2 parts, so that's 27 times 2, which is 54. You could work out Debbie if you want, but I don't think we need to. Let's just see. And then 3 times 27 is 81 for Errol. Okay. So what was the actual question? How much money did Chris give to Errol? Well, you can have it. Well, I guess you could work out probably just one of them. Yeah, we probably don't even need Chris actually. Just looking at Errol. Errol used to have £60, now has £81. So do you see how the difference? Let me highlight that. Yeah, we actually don't even need this. Let's not even worry about that. We just need to look at Errol, isn't it? Because obviously Chris gave money to Debbie and to Errol, so it wouldn't be the difference for Chris, just the one for Errol. So the difference, just writing it down, but you can kind of see what that would be, is £21. That's how much Chris gave to Errol, because Debbie didn't give any money to Errol, so it was just Chris, wasn't it? So yeah, that's quite a complicated one, that one. Question 27. The bearing of port B from port A is 147 degrees. Work out the bearing of port A from port B. Now, this is almost a trick question, really. It's quite hard because you can't visualize it, but I will just roughly show you. So from A, it's always an arrow, isn't it? I'm just going to give you a rough sketch. You can do this in the exam, just roughly sketch it. It doesn't have to be accurate. 147, so let's say B is here. Just quickly draw a line between them. With bearings, we always have north lines, don't we? So that's why I've got arrows. Those are the north lines. So this is A, and this is B. The bearing of port B from port A is 147. So that's this bit here. Because it's from A, so that's why I'm drawing it on the A side. It's always clockwise. Now they've asked for work out the bearing of port A from B. So clockwise, rewrite where B is. Clockwise from the north line of B. Do you see how that would be this bit here? Some people would think, oh, I just do 180 minus 147. It's not. Well, it is that, but it's not. That's not the final answer, is it? So that's the bearing I want. Now, because the north lines, that's a north line, are parallel, obviously north faces the same direction, we can use parallel lines. So you can work out co-interior angles. So yes, to work out that green one, I would do 180 minus 147, which gives me 33. This is 33, but that's not the bearing. The bearing is always clockwise from the north line. So this is now around a point, isn't it? Around a point is 360 degrees. So do 360 minus 33 degrees, you get 327. So it's kind of 2 steps, that one. You don't have to draw it out, but I'm just drawing it to show you. But just remember, if you get a question like this, you do have to do 2 steps. Because I feel like naturally you just want to do 180 minus, because it's kind of like the opposite. But it's not just that. So 327 for that one. Question 28. The diagram shows an empty tank in the shape of a cylinder. The cylinder has radius 15 centimeters and height 43 centimeters. Water flows into the tank at a rate of 0.47 litres per minute. So we've got centimeters and litres. Calculate the number of minutes it will take to completely fill the tank. Alright, so we need to know the volume, don't we? Because we're talking about capacity. We need to know the volume of the cylinder. So the volume of a cylinder is the area of the circle, so pi times the radius squared, 15 squared, times by, in this case, the height, 43. So obviously put that in your calculator. Pi times 15 squared times 43 is 9,675 pi. You can leave it like that. You can put it as a decimal if you want, but I tend to like to leave things in terms of pi just because it's more exact. So 9,675 pi, 9675 pi. Now that's in centimeters cubed because it's volume. Okay, volume. However, I've now got this here where the water flows into the tank at 0.47 litres per minute. So we need to know the conversion. Just so you know, 1 litre is 1,000 centimeters cubed. So I think I'll convert this into litres whilst I'm here. So I'm going to divide that by 1,000, which now it gives me kind of an annoying number, so I will look at the decimal, which is roughly 30.395 litres, isn't it? 30.395 litres-ish. Now I can look at this. Well, it's 0.47 litres per minute, so I can do 30.395 litres divided by 0.47 to see how many minutes it would take. So I'm going to use my answer because it's got all the decimals, doesn't it? Divided by 0.47, that gives me 64.67 minutes. That's now in minutes, but they have said correct to the nearest minute, so I would round that to 65, round it up, because 6 is obviously a bigger number than 5, isn't it? It will round up. So yeah, just make sure that you have this conversion, because sometimes they give it to you, sometimes they don't. In this case, they didn't give it to us, they just wanted us to know it. Question 29, ABC is a right-angled triangle. Calculate the length of AB. So this one here. So we've got a side, BC, and we've got an angle, 49. And it's a right-angled triangle. That means trigonometry. So I like to label the 2 sides that are relevant to me. So 28 is obviously relevant because it's helpful information, isn't it? That's the adjacent. That's the one that's next to the angle, but it's not the hypotenuse. The one that I want is also relevant, AB. So that's the opposite, isn't it? It's directly opposite the angle. Now, I know that the AC is the hypotenuse, but it's not really relevant to me, so I'm not going to write that down. The reason being is because then when I think in my head of SOHCAHTOA, which one has both O and A, TOA, tan. Then I need to find out, okay, well, that's fine. I'm using tan, but what is my actual calculation? I like to use the formula triangles. Whatever the middle letter is in this acronym goes at the top, so the O goes at the top. Because I'm looking for the O, that means I have to multiply tan, which is with the angle, 49, you always put sin, cos or tan with the angles, and then multiply it just by the adjacent, which is 28. So that's what I'm putting into my calculator. Tan 49 times 28. 32.2, yeah, to 3 significant figures would be 32.2, wouldn't it? Centimeters, and that's just 2 marks. Now, last question, we've just got a really nice solve the simultaneous equations. They're just linear. You can use elimination or substitution, it's up to you. I tend to use elimination, that's just my personal preference. You might have a different preference, which is fine. But I will show you elimination in this case. When we want to eliminate basically a letter, you can't solve an equation if you have two letters, x and y. So I need to get rid of one of the letters first. That's kind of the whole point of both methods. So what I would do for elimination is look, can I make the x's the same amount of x's? This one's currently 4, this is currently 3. Or can I make the y's the same amount of y's? This one's currently 1, this one's 3. You can do either, it's not right or wrong, it's just I normally try to look at whichever one I think's easier. And I think in this particular case that the y is easier because we're thinking about lowest common multiple now. The lowest common multiple of 1 and 3 is just 3. The reason why that's easier is because then I don't need to change the second equation because it's already 3, isn't it? If I were to make x the same, I'd have to make it 12, which would mean that I have to change both equations, which is fine, but it's just more annoying, isn't it? So I'm personally going to make the first one 3y, so I'd have to just times by 3. But you have to obviously change the whole equation, you can't just chuck a 3 in there. Otherwise it wouldn't be the same, would it? So I need to multiply the whole equation by 3, so that would be 9x plus 3y equals, and then you might want to get the calculator, 4.5 times 3, 13.5, but remember that is negative 13.5. Now relist the other one, just write it underneath so you can see it. Do you see how now they're both 3y and 3y? Now I have to figure out, do I add or subtract the fractions, the equations, in order to cancel out, in order to eliminate the 3y's. We've got acronyms, same sign, subtract, different sign, add. Are they the same sign or different? Well, they're both plus 3, aren't they? Both plus 3y, so that's the same sign. So I need to subtract my whole equations. So everything, so 9x minus 4x is 5x. Obviously 3y, take away 3y is 0, that's the whole point, that we're going to cancel them out. Now just be careful with this other thing here, because this is a double negative, isn't it? You've got minus 13.5, subtract minus 3.5. So it's a double negative, you should get minus 10. So be really careful with that last bit there. Do you see how now I've got an equation with just x? So now I can actually solve it as we've been doing in the other questions. I just want to know what 1x is, not 5x. So the opposite of 5x is obviously dividing by 5, isn't it? So you get x is equal to minus 2. Now once you know what one of the letters is, that's the hardest part done. The second bit is then easier. You take your value, whichever one you worked out first, so I worked out x first, and you substitute it back into one of the original equations. It doesn't matter which. I'm probably going to choose the first one because there's just smaller numbers. So I've got 3 times x, which I now know is minus 2, plus y is equal to minus 4.5. And then I can solve this. So let me scroll down a bit. So that's obviously minus 6, isn't it? I want to get y on its own. So all I need to do is move the minus 6. So that would be plus 6, wouldn't it? Plus 6. So you might want to, again, put this in the calculator. You've got minus 4.5 plus 6, which is 1.5. So y is 1.5, but don't need to divide anything because it was already just one. It was already just one y, wasn't it? So that's fine. The higher tier paper is at 7 o'clock. So there you go, minus 2 for x, 1.5 for y, or if you put it as a fraction, that's also fine. And that is everything on this paper for foundation tier. This was the November 2023 paper 2, as you can see in the title of the live. That's what this paper was. So thanks for joining me today, guys. Best of luck for your exam on Wednesday. I hope it goes really well. And we will continue doing some more foundation lives for the rest of this week before your last paper on next Wednesday.